Texas has lived a charmed existence in the college football playoff. Need to talk about why that is, what that looks like, and I need to once again tell you, Texas is not Michigan. Just ask Tennessee about that strategy. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. It costs nothing to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and this show is free. Like the video and leave me a comment. Do you think that Texas has lived a charmed existence in this college football playoff? Because I do, and I'm going to lay that out for you. But at the top, I want to talk about it this way. Tennessee showed up to Ohio State believing that they were going to outnumber Ohio State fans, and there were a lot of Tennessee fans there wearing that traffic color orange or whatever it is they like to wear. And they got spanked on the behind and sent on back to Knoxville. But as they were doing this, one of the things that I was just wilding about was the number of Tennessee fans that had Michigan paraphernalia in and around. Like, there was one floaty where there was a Michigan M in between some Tennessee Volunteers fans. I'm like, yo, dog, have y'all stooped that low? Is that how bad the morale is at Tennessee, that you got to go pulling on Michigan to try to get the vibes up against Ohio State in a playoff game? Could not be me. I'm not going to be pulling out no Michigan card to get under the skin of no Ohio State because I am Oklahoma. Like, that's the thing here. I don't understand why you need to co-opt somebody else's steez to get down on your own. That's never going to be okay. We're never going to like that. We're never going to think that's okay and cool. I'm not that dude. I'm just not going to do that. However, there is a contingent of Texas fans going, hey, we beat the hell out of that Michigan team, and that Michigan team beat Ohio State. Now do Penn State. Now do Oregon. Now, let's take a look at how did you fare against Georgia. And all this, and Texas still make the college football playoff, and they, being the highest ranked at large bid, got to host a home game, which I believe should be extended to everybody now. Like, I'm on that train. We don't need quarterfinals that are bowl games. We need quarterfinals that are home games. Full stop. That way, we might not see all 4 top seeds and every single Power 4 conference champion get knocked out before the semifinals. I think the home field advantage is huge, and you saw the effect it had on the games and how much we enjoyed it. And then we got to see some upsets, but wasn't nobody really that excited about those upsets, save Ohio State, Oregon, which is going to be a really good game to begin with, right? Notre Dame, Georgia, great game. Sugar Bowl, I think if that game's played at Sanford, it might have a different outcome, and Georgia would have probably felt like it was a little bit more fair. Meanwhile, I'm looking at what Penn State has been able to do, and you could have played that game on Mars. They're still going to beat that Boise State team. It didn't much matter. But we're also looking at how these things have happened. Like, Penn State gets to the college football playoff because they lost to Oregon, they got lucky on the seeding, and then they beat 2 teams that were in the group of 5 in 2023 to get to Notre Dame. Ohio State has had to travel more than 3,000 miles since hosting a home game at Ohio State. And now they get to go back to the Cotton Bowl, where the last time they were, Missouri beat them. Now, that's without Marvin Harrison Jr., that's without Kyle McCord. It's basically without dudes that you know can affect winning football, and Missouri barely won that football game with Cody Schrader in the backfield. Okay. Now, add to this, Texas hasn't had to travel more than like 1,100 miles. They played at DKR. They went to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the second time, a stadium they're familiar with in a way that Arizona State was not, having played in the SEC championship game there. And now they get to go to Dallas to play at the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State. The home fan base ought to be everywhere Texas is. The fact that the national championship is going to be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium 2 is wild to me, because that means that Texas could play there 3 times and go 2-1, win the national championship. Meanwhile, Georgia's going to be looking at it going, we beat that team. We beat that team with everything that they had, right? Arizona State's going, we had that team dead to rights. And Texas fans are going, woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't. Well, now you get the buzzsaw. Now you get Ohio State. At a time when it feels like this stomach bug story is becoming a bigger one. So there's apparently some beat writers that were sick after the Rose Bowl, and there's a few players that were sick. And before this, there was even a B1G writer that was claiming that Oregon was suffering with something like a stomach bug. So I'll be curious to find out just how much that affects the play on the football field. But I still don't think it's going to do much. And what we're really doing here is relying on trends when we talk about Texas, and as far as giving this team an opportunity to go beat Ohio State. Will Howard has never beaten Texas. Hell, Jeremiah Smith has never beaten Texas. We want to keep doing this. We could talk about what Will Howard is or isn't. And I give you the stats. They're better than Quinn Ewers. People want to talk about Quinn Ewers missing 2.5 games like that's a good thing. No, that man has not played an entire season of football healthy. And the better quarterback is probably on the bench at Arch Manning, but that's not what Steve Sarkisian wants to do. He's having some Kirby Smart about him and that he's just not going to play the most talented quarterback. He's going to play the guy he trusts the most. Okay. The defense is the thing that I think is going to be interesting here, because if Pete Wachowski watched the Michigan film, he's going to do what Michigan did. He's going to do what Penn State did. He's going to do what these great defensive fronts this season have done against them and try to take away the opportunity to pass the football. Now, against Michigan, Ohio State did that themselves. They decided to run into the teeth of the strongest part of the Michigan defense, and look how that ended for them, right? I don't think they're doing that anymore. I think they're going to live and die by what Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Will Howard, Carnell Tate can do. And then that 3-guard rotation on that offensive line has just been good. It's just been good. Like, I didn't expect it to be good, but it has been. So if you can't get home with the pass rush that you have at Texas, it's done. It's over. You're going to get cooked. I don't think that Andrew Makuba and Jahdae Barron and Michael Taft can run with these dudes. However, Michael Taft has already said, I've never lost at the Cotton Bowl. And he's right, at Jerry World. He didn't lose there in high school. He ain't lost there against Oklahoma. And he ain't lost there yet on Friday. So we'll see how this goes. I tend to look at this and say this is more of a conversation around what we think Texas is or isn't, what we think Ohio State isn't, and what we want the playoff to be, right? Because everybody's got an attitude about the playoff right now because you don't necessarily like how the seeding has been done or the results. Some of this doesn't seem fair. We've also had this did they belong or don't they belong conversation that's been going on for over a month now. Indiana didn't look like they belonged when they got beat by 10 by Notre Dame. Then Notre Dame beat Georgia by 13, right? And then we get to say, wait, did Georgia not belong? Or Michigan beats the hell out of Alabama, and the Alabama team that thought they should have been in the playoff looks real bad now. Meanwhile, Boise State probably never should have been there in the first place. Ashton Jeanty is not the reason to put a team in the college football playoff any more than Travis Hunter is the reason to put Colorado in the college football playoff. You just don't do it. SMU, we could take it or leave it, but if you're going to go 9-0 in the ACC and you're going to lose the ACC championship game, maybe we can maybe make that argument. But I think for the most part, I don't have a problem with any of this. I don't. I think I have a problem with we didn't really reward the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 3 seed, the 4 seed properly. And I think that comes back to, once again, more than one home game. I think you play through the quarterfinals at home if you are one of the top 4 seeded teams. Now, that's also going to make it chalky, right? I think that you're going to see more of the top teams make the semifinals. So you're going to see fewer upsets. And if that's what you want, then that's what you want. Me, I just want to defend a national champion. That's all. That's all. Everybody that should be in gets in. And this year, everybody that should be in got in, unlike Florida State last year, right? You get in, you get the same opportunity to get your behind kicked by Ohio State. Ask Oregon how that goes. So now that we have gotten there, one of the things that I think is going to be interesting is just how many Ohio State fans show up to Jerry World, and there will be considerable, and how many Texas fans show up to see Jerry World, and then whether conference pride actually takes precedent here, because I'm telling you, Ohio State, who beat Oregon like a drum, if they beat Texas like a drum, we are going to once again cast aspersions on what the SEC is or isn't going into 2025. Especially if Penn State can beat Notre Dame. Because Penn State beats that Notre Dame team. Notre Dame had beaten the SEC champion. You get how the math works out here, right? We end up with an all Big Ten national championship game for the first time ever. I mean, since we started playing national championship game in 1998, right? It's been some time. And it's been really difficult to pull that sort of a thing off because the BCS, the computers, 14 playoffs versus 12-team playoffs makes this a little bit more easier to do. And during the 14 playoff era, it was the SEC plus everybody else, right? Alabama and Georgia playing in a national championship game. We saw that twice. You know, it's just going to be like that. I think, though, what we're going to see is Will Howard is the best quarterback left of the 4. Passing percentage, passing TDs, completing the ball. He's also got the best receiving group out of the 4. Texas has the second best receiving group. But when you got Jeremiah Smith versus Matthew Golden, I'm going to take Jeremiah Smith. but you're not going to feel bad about Matthew Golden. It's when you get to the third and fourth down depth chart, right? I understand that people feel some kind of way about Gunnar Helm. You feel some kind of way about Isaiah Bond. If Isaiah Bond is healthy, then talk to me, right? And by healthy, I mean playing a bunch of snaps, not just healthy enough to play. Ryan Wingo, yeah, that's a dude. That's a dude. Gunnar Helm, dude. But I got those at Ohio State, so they cancel each other out. The secondaries, I think, are just as good, right? It's what that pass rush is going to do against that offensive line. And if Ohio State can get home against Texas, Quinn Ewers can't run away from pressure, and that's going to be a problem for you. However, I'm just going to reinforce one more time the reason that we here. Trends. In my business, people love trends. We love trends because they give us something to talk about. But in as far as who ain't won nothing or who has won something, it only matters so much. And at the end of the day, show me the team, show me the person who isn't rooting for Texas that's going to pick Texas to win this game. I'll wait.